Good evening. You're watching NTV Weekend Edition. The headlines.
Tonight, the opposition wants less talk, more action.
Having had more than enough on the handshake, we demand that we must now begin seeing handcuffs.
Blink and lose this war against corruption. Your legacy will be destroyed forever.
Plus, government mulls cancelling Galana Kulalu deal with Israeli farm, 5.9 billion shillings later.
Also tonight, one family's unworthy gift, another's safe haven.
Sikuwa nikifikiria pengine ninaweza sasa kuwa na kwangu.
And the bottle remains a scourge in the county of Kiambu.
Nimejua makwa kaya yenye ukitaka kusaidika lazima uuze pombe.
NTV's County Edition also visits one of Kenya's oldest churches.
Thank you for joining us. Our sign language interpreter tonight is David Agondoa. Tonight, political leaders from across the divide are piling on the pressure on President Uhuru Kenyatta to take action against 6 cabinet secretaries accused of engaging in graft. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka and his Amani National Congress counterpart, Musalia Mudavadi, say the president must act decisively to stop a further plunder of the country's resources. Silas Apollo with those details.
Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi and his Wiper counterpart Kalonzo Musyoka are the latest politicians to lend their voices to the ongoing war against corruption. Their guns were today trained at some of the 6 cabinet secretaries accused of demanding bribes and presiding over projects said to have turned into white elephants.
You should not blink one eye. Blink and lose this war against corruption. Your legacy will be destroyed forever.
Having had more than enough on the handshake, we demand that we must now begin seeing handcuffs.
The statements follows a confirmation from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, which says it is closing in on at least 3 CSs who have been accused of irregularly awarding tenders and receiving kickback for projects. Both Tourism CS Najib Balala and Henry Rotich of the National Treasury have been grilled over allegations of corruption. The two have, however, denied any wrongdoing.
I can tell you very clear, if it's corruption, it's not Balala. And if it's breaking the law, it's not Balala. I am a well-seasoned politician and experienced civil servant.
A number of ministers have also been accused of collecting bribes, sometimes making it hard to deliver on key government projects. Contractors who fail to comply have been threatened with blacklisting and losing out on tenders.
Lazima pia sisi kama wabunge mheshimiwa tuhakikisha wale cabinet secretaries wanatajwa na mambo ya ufisadi, sisi tunawalipua.
These corruption claims have hit close to the president and now complicates his war on graft. Mudavadi, who was speaking in Nakuru today, however, said the war must be intentional.
The government appears to want us to accept these scandals as normal, provided that there is some state-led rhetoric about it. Kenya's international development partners are equally silent in the midst of these scandals.
President Kenyatta has before warned those implicated in graft to carry their own cross.
Hii vita ni yetu sisi wote kama Wakenya. Tuungane ndio tuhakikishe ya kwamba tumemaliza hiyo vita na wananchi wamepata haki yao.
But Mudavadi says his empty rhetoric only serves to weaken his war on graft.
If we must talk about any handiwork now, it has to be the handiwork of handcuffs.
Besides Rotich and Balala, CSS Fred Matiang'i of Interior, Cecily Kariuki of Health, and their agriculture counterpart Mwangi have also been linked to corruption allegations in their ministries. While some have denied these allegations and termed them as mere fabrications, others have thrown the blame to their predecessors and even juniors. Silas Apollo, NTV.
And we're now joined by Zeinab, Ismail and Dann Mwangi in Kiambu County, looking all regal. What do you have for us from Kiambu, Dann?
Well, we have a lot for you, including Mashakura, possibly. That's something to just keep you tuned to us, ensure that you're going to stay with us. But my name is Dann Mwangi, or Mwangi Wajoroge, for this edition, coming to you live from county number 22, the county of Kiambu.
And I'm Zeinab Ismail, aka Nyakio. That means actually a very hard-working person. You know, I've been working very hard, so that's why I was given that name. But thank you so much for joining us. So we'll be taking you through the stories making headlines across the country and beyond.
This is the Otongoria edition. Now, to yet another disappointment for this administration. It was hailed as the future, a model for the realization of a food-secure nation. But 4 years down the line, the Galana Kulalu food project has failed to live up to its promise.
And now, 5.9 billion shillings deep, the government is still digging as the National Irrigation Board and the Green Arava, the Israeli farm contracted to lay the groundwork, trade blame for the stalled project.
Olive Burrows sheds light on the impasse that now has the NIB contemplating terminating its dealings with the Israeli farm.
You know, Galana has had what we call a lot of rumors around it. Kenyans, we have become a society of rumors. Anything that is done is usually bad. We don't look at the good side, we only look at the bad side of things. But thank God, at least we are proving critics wrong.
It was a frail attempt to put a brave face on a food security project that was once billed as the proverbial cannon in germination. 4 years down the line, and there's frustration to show for the seed the Kenyan taxpayer put in the ground at a cost of 5.9 billion shillings.
Serikali inatuambia wanataka kununua mahindi from Kulalu. Sasa kati ya Kulalu na mkulima wa kawaida, ni nani serikali anafaa kutilia mkazo kumsaidia? Mkulima. Kwa hivyo hiyo maneno ya Wizara ya Kilimo na hii mchezo ya rat and race wanaendelea, sisi tumekataa.
The billions in irrigation machinery procured by the Kenyan taxpayer is lying idle as the National Irrigation Board and the Israeli contractor Green Arava dig in over a 1.2 billion shilling payment. The National Irrigation Board maintains it will not sanction any further payments to Green Arava for the pending works until and unless the Israeli farm starts the shipping of the 4 remaining center pivots and drip irrigation infrastructure from Israel and Italy. Green Arava, on the other hand, is adamant that it will not undertake any further works on Galana Kulalu before payment is made, given previous delays. Unwilling to compromise, the National Irrigation Board tells NTV that it is looking to disengage from Green Arava and look elsewhere for the remaining works on the 10,000-acre Galana Kulalu model farm. A position corroborated by Irrigation PS Fred Sigor. He says, and I quote, "There is a dispute between the two, and we're also looking at it in the worst case scenario. In case the employer fails to agree with the contractor, what happens next? You'll remember this was an arrangement reached between our country and Israel, and that is why we are consulting to get the best way of handling it." Sigor clarifies that the consultations involve the National Treasury and the Office of the Attorney General. The troubles with the Galana Kulalu food project come to a head on the heels of a scandal at the National Cereals and Produce Board, where farmers were cheated out of close to 2 billion shillings in payments that went to shadowy businessmen. And now the hope that was the Galana Kulalu food project is nowhere close to the shining example of a Garden of Eden in the depths of Kenya's semi-arid south that it was touted to be. Olive Burrows, NTV.
Now, even though the government's flagship project is now in ruins, Deputy President William Ruto insists his relationship with President Uhuru Kenyatta is not, hitting out at those he says are keen to sow the seeds of discord in the ruling party.
And in the meantime, a section of leaders who accompanied him to a church service in Bureti in the county of Kericho say they will only back a referendum that will improve the lives of Kenyans and not want to create political positions.
The Jubilee party has in recent times been sailing against the tide, hitting strong rapids that threatened to break the ruling party and arguably the largest one by membership. But Deputy President William Ruto now says the Jubilee ship is as steady as she goes.
Watu wasiandike kama chama ya Jubilee, which is a national party, ni maneno ya Uhuru Kenyatta na William Ruto na watu wawili watatu. Chama ya Jubilee ni chama ya Wakenya mamilioni.
Speaking in Kericho County, where he was accompanied by over 20 MPs from Jubilee, Ruto hit out at those he says are keen on driving a wedge between him and President Uhuru Kenyatta, saying their bond was stronger than ever.
Tuliunda Jubilee National Party ndio tuweze kujenga barabara, tuunganishe stima, tukue na maji, tuanze viwanda, watoto wasome.
The deputy president expressed optimism that the party will weather the storm as it enjoys overwhelming support across the country.
Na Jubilee itaenda mbele. Nani akose kiti, nani apate kiti, kwa sababu wale wenye kuamua nani atakuwa MCA ni wananchi. Nani atakuwa mjumbe, nani atakuwa senator, nani atakuwa governor, nani atakuwa rais. Kwanza ni wana Jubilee kwa Jubilee na wa Kenya.
But even as he made a case for the unity of the ruling party, the leaders who accompanied him echoed his sentiments on supporting a referendum that will be of uplifting the status of Kenyans' lives and not one about creating more political positions.
Sisi hatuogopi referendum. Walete, lakini iwe ni referendum ambayo itasaidia sisi kupea hawa vijana wetu ajira. Kama ni referendum ya kutafutia watu kadhaa kazi, hiyo walete pia tuangu. Ati tufanye nini? Tufanye nini? Hii kiti ya president, hata mubadilishe majina mara ngapi. Mkitaka muite prime minister, muite senior chief, muite paramount chief, muite jina yoyote, hata mkitaka muite Raila, mwisho itakuwa ni kiti ya William.
Vile nyinyi mlisikizana na rais, mkasema kazi ile ambayo inafanywa sasa ni kazi ya maendeleo. Hiyo ndio sisi tunafuata na tutaki maneno ya fitina.
Hata watu waitisha referendum ya kwanza, ya pili, mara 10, William Ruto atapitia katikati yao mchana.
The leaders also coalesced around the deputy president's 2022 presidential ambitions, saying he was the best candidate to fly the party's flag. Kennedy Muredhi, NTV.
An 11-year-old boy whose hands were scalded by a neighbor who accused him of stealing food at Kargi in Marsabit County has had his hands amputated.
Halkano Senbenu from Marsabit County was being treated at the Consolata Mission Hospital in Meru for serious burns after his neighbor tied his hands and immersed them in boiling water. Doctors say his hands could no longer function and had to be amputated. The family now wants justice for their son.
To yet another cry for justice, this time from a family in Kwamaiko, Githongori in Kiambu County, after their 95-year-old grandmother was allegedly raped and doused with acid before she died.
The granny is said to have gone missing after attending a church gathering in the area.
In Rayani village, Githongori, friends and family have gathered to remember the life shared with 95-year-old Penina Njoki. According to the family, Njoki went missing after she attended a church service in the neighboring village. Her body was recovered near a river.
Nikasikia duru huko chini mtoni. Kwenda mtoni, kufika huko, nikakuta wamama huko. Wakaniambia, Wajoki, ni mama yako, ni wa Mumira. Sasa hakuna kitu kingine yoyote tungefanya, ni kusema tu amekufa.
She was allegedly raped and acid poured on her body.
Nilimpeleka huko kwa mosari, huko ndio niliona kweli huyo ni kuuawa. Juu alikuwa nini hao watu wa mosa wa kumuigisha huko. Unajua alikuwa amemkagua hivi. Hapo niliona huko kwa mgogo, damu tupu. Tena huku na huku. Ni kama mtu alikuwa amechomwa. Unaona ukichomeka na maji halafu sinagosi inakuwa nyeusi, afu ukifanya hivi sinakuwa kidoda.
Police have launched investigations into the matter as the family awaits results of the autopsy.
Susu alikuwa kama amepotea, kichwa yake sio mzuri, lakini kukaa na watu, alikuwa tu anapendwa na watu. Ni vile hii kichwa inamtuma yeye saa ingine anaongea mambo mabaya, lakini watu walikuwa wamemzoea na alikuwa rafiki yao.
Villagers have urged the security forces to speed up investigations for justice to prevail. Eunice Omolo, NTV in Kiambu County.
A quite unfortunate incident there. Now, the body of a 52-year-old man identified as Josephat Korir was found hidden under a bed at a lodging in Kaiboy Trading Center, Nandi County.
Korir, who's a teacher at Rubet Primary School, is reported to have spent the entire day drinking at a pub with friends.
Now, Korir's relatives believe that he could have been killed elsewhere and his body brought to the lodging as a cover-up.
The relatives want police to speed up investigations and arrest those behind the death of their kin.
Residents of Kaiboy are demanding a reshuffle of police officers at Kibiet sub-county headquarters, saying they have failed to contain crime in the area.
Baadaye nasemekana ilinyesha, na iliponyesha ati alishindwa kutembea, na hapa mpaka kwake sio mbali sana, na vile tuliona huyo ndugu yetu akulala hapo. Kuna pahali ambapo kuna tendo ambayo ilitendeka kama aliuliwa na kuingizwa pale.
Tutaomba sana serikali iweze kuweka mikakati ya kutosha, hasa sana katika kwa kupitia kwa gavana wetu Tugatai aweze kuona ya kwamba unafanyiwa reshuffle ya maaskari katika Kaibui sub police station.
A funeral in Mount Elgon turned chaotic after supporters of two politicians who had attended the burial of businessman Peter Chepkech clashed.
Now, supporters of Area Member of Parliament Fred Kapondi are said to have been irked by the politician Masuti Chemasut, who was taking pictures as Kapondi addressed the gathering.
A verbal war of words degenerated into a fist fight as Kapondi accused the politician of taking his pictures without his consent.
In the meantime, family members took the deceased body and buried it.
Mimi nilisema tafadhali usinipike nikiongea ama nikitembea kutaka kuongea. Inakuwa ni aibu mzee mkubwa kazi yake ni kuchukua picha alafu anaweka kwa social media kwa njia ya kuchafulia watu majina.
Matanga ni mtu ambaye kila mtu anaheshimu. Na kila mtu alikuwa ameenda kulia vile anaweza kulia. Na watu wote waliongea na kutulia. Inaweza kuaje yeye ni special namna gani anaenda kuamka na kuweka vijana tuwapiga watu wengine. Matanga ni mali public. Mtu akitaka kupiga picha, mtu anaweza piga picha anataka kupiga. Kama media anapiga picha, kwani ilikuwa ni makosa gani?
Quite unfortunate that such an incident can happen at a burial. Well, away from that, Platinum Distillers Limited has been temporarily closed for allegedly trying to evade 14 million shillings in taxes.
4 people were also arrested in the operation conducted by the Kenya Revenue Authority, as Sharon Baranga reports.
Investigators from the Kenya Revenue Authority raided Platinum Distillers Limited in Ruiru early Sunday. The team was investigating claims that the distiller was trying to evade paying tax amounting to 14 million shillings. During the operation, 4 people were arrested and the factory closed down to pave way for investigation.
It's not that the product is harmful. What we are saying, it was concealed. The right duties were not paid. But as to whether the products are harmful or not, that will be determined once we get the laboratory tests.
KRA explains that the firm concealed its imported goods from India as raw materials in an attempt to pay less in taxes. KRA says Platinum Distillers Limited paid 383,962 shillings only instead of 14 million shillings.
We received intelligence within KRA, and the investigation will ensure that anybody who was supposed to have done anything to prevent this consignment from leaving the port is dealt with.
The new development comes a few weeks after African Spirits Limited was found in possession of ethanol of questionable quality and suspected fake KRA stamps following a multi-agency raid. The company's director, Humphrey Kariuki, and other senior managers have already been questioned. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Problem.
All right, let's now take a very short break here on NTV Weekend Edition. We still have a light lined up for you. And Dan, I know you're quite thirsty. Don't mind if I give you some cuddled milk here, right?
What is it called in Kikuyu?
I'm yet to find out. I just forgot about that. You can have that in that beautiful cup.
I really like these cups though.
Yeah,
they're classic.
awesome.
Aren't you going to have it? I'm not a guinea pig.
Okay, fine. Let me try.
But even as we have our drink, we have this coming up. Worthy Gift is another safe haven.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You're watching NTV Weekend Edition. Now, the house, which was built as a gift from President Uhuru Kenyatta, has been handed over to a different family.
Macharia Gashie's family of 6 is the new beneficiary of the house originally built for Dennis Ngaruya's family.
The Ngaruyas rejected the house located in Murunyu area, Bahati in Nakuru, describing it as an unworthy presidential gift.
Macharia Gashie and his children are celebrating a new beginning in their new home. The family will now live in the house, which was originally built for Dennis Ngaruya's family at the behest of President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Sikuwa nikifikiria pengine ninaweza sasa kuwa na kwangu. Juu pengine sasa kwa kulingana na zile sasa economy sasa ilikuwa inaendelea sana, nilikuwa nikijifikia. Kwa hivyo sasa wakati ule sana nitakapokuwa sana pesa, si mashamba ile ama ploti zitakuwa zikitoka karibu milioni 50. Lakini sasa ninashukuru Mungu kwa sababu sasa yeye ameniwezesha, ama ninashukuru Mungu kwa sababu hakika niko na kwangu.
Gashie and his 6 children now have a place to call home. 3 of Gashie's children are disabled. They could not hide the joy as government representatives handed them the keys to their home.
Some of the statements or remarks she made, I don't know. I won't make any judgment because some of you would come with her and you know what she actually said about the house, that it's made of tissue and stuff and she could not come in.
The 2-bedroomed house is next to the home of a State House official.
Has been wet blankets in your life.
Dennis Ngaruya, currently a Form 4 student, sang a poem before President Kenyatta in Lanet, leaving him in stitches during the Kenya Defence Forces Day celebrations. It is after that performance that the president offered to build a home for his family. Ngaruya and his mother currently lives in a rented mud-walled house in Lanet, about 4 kilometers from the one she rejected in Bahati. For now, the Gashie family can enjoy the first day of the rest of their lives. Halima Gongo, NTV.
Now let's bring the Tongoria County edition here. The county of Kiambu is home to 2 of Kenya's 4 presidents, Jomo Kenyatta and his son Uhuru Kenyatta. The county has also been home to some of Kenya's influential individuals who have had a significant say in presidential and central Kenya politics.
But has this been of much benefit to the people of the county? The common Mwananchi, we take a look at the county of the 2 presidents.
The cool breeze that swims above the green lush, enjoying the luxury that has been built over decades. The county of Kiambu has bred pride in its residents for having produced national figures, including Kenya's first president, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, who played a key role in the fight for the country's independence. 83-year-old Mzee Wamai says that despite President Uhuru Kenyatta being close to his father, their leadership styles are different.
Land was being allocated to various people after independence, after which you were given tractors to till the land. Once you made money from the sale of produce, you were expected to set aside part of it to pay off your debt in installments until it was cleared. You are then issued with a title deed.
And these sentiments from the president's Ishaweri village are echoed in Kiambu town.
Kaunti yetu tumefurahi sana juu kumetoka president wawili. So tunaona hii ni baraka kwetu. Lakini upande wa kazi, biashara zimeenda chini kabisa.
But according to relatives of the 2 presidents, President Uhuru Kenyatta is following in his father's footsteps, and the fruit is an improved state of the nation.
Huyu mtoto amefanya kazi na tumefaidika sana. Kibalabala ni mzuri, maji tunapata.
Analysts say that Kiambu also has significant influence on the country's presidential and Mount Kenya politics. In Kenya's first cabinet in 1963, of the 15 ministers, 4 were from Kiambu and held powerful dockets. The other 11 were shared among freedom fighters from other regions. Jomo Kenyatta was the prime minister, and the ministries led by Kiambu men were finance and economic planning, whose minister was James Gishuru, while the Ministry of Health and Housing was put under Dr. Njoroge Mungai. Kenyatta went on to appoint his childhood friend Mbio Koinange as Minister of State in his office in charge of Pan-African affairs and had Charles Njonjo as the Attorney General. Former Defense Minister Njenga Karome and billionaire and former Kiamba MP Stanley Githongori are also among the prominent and influential men from Kiambu. In the current cabinet, ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru is the only one from county number 22. Former Attorney General Getho Muigai is also from the county of 2 presidents. You know, I covered the Kiambu County during the 2017 elections, and it was overwhelmingly a Jubilee zone, as expected. They call it Dhuti. It was 6-piece, you know, Jubilee, 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 Jubilee. So we went out to the streets to find out what the people of this county feel in regards to, are they still Jubilee diehards? This is what they had to say.
Matiang'i, traffic, mambo iko sawa. Tukiangalia katika uchumi, tunaona sasa uchumi bado kwangu, uchumi uko sawa.
Imetusaidia sana, imeleta maendeleo Central. Mbele hata ukiangalia hapa mahali na hojiwa, ni mahali hapakuwa na stage, Makongeni hakukuwa na stage. Saa hii kuna stage kubwa na imeletwa na serikali ya Jubilee.
Jubilee imetushikilia kama mavijana, tumeanza kuona makazi, sababu kama huku kumeajiri mavijana wengi hawakuwa kazi, sasa wameanza kupata majob. Na sasa tunasema Jubilee iende hivyo wakisaidia mavijana, ndio tuelekee pale tunatakaga hata sisi mavijana.
Wakati kiwanja imefunguliwa nikapata kazi, sababu nilikuwa nakaa haito na kutafuta vibarua na kosa, mara hata ningeenda tu nipate tu hata sina chakula. Lakini sasa mimi mtu anajilipia nyumba kutoka na hii kiwanja. Sasa maendeleo imekuja. Leo leo hakuna kurudi nyuma, wote soka la duda.
Jubilee iko ngangari katika Kiambu County. Kwa hivyo kama president na kuuliza ukae ngangari katika nchi yetu, tukabiliane na ufisadi, tunajua ya kwamba ukituongoza hivyo unatuongoza, utakuja kumalizika katika nchi yetu na hii county yetu ya Kiambu.
Jubilee kama sisi hatuzitambui kama vijana. Juu saa hii kama Jubilee hakuna vijana imesaidia. Jubilee ni watu wako na V8, mwenye wako na katambi, mwenye anaweza iba serikali bilioni. Sasa hebu angalia mapikipiki hapa. Sasa tunangojea sheria ya Matiang'i ikuje, tuweze kuhepa. Tunangojea mwezi wa 5 Matiang'i amushe kichwa, si tupotee. Serikali haitusaidii. Jubilee kusema nini? Walikuwa nasema wembe ni ule. Hatukuwa tunajua hii wembe itakata mifuko ya. Sasa hii tunarusha pesa zinaanguka. Juu wembe ni ule umekata mifuko.
You know, Dan, today we visited the Kereita Forest here in Kiambu. It's in the Lari constituency, and that forest hosts a lot of nuggets of historical experience and a lot of activities happening there. But one distinct thing that happens there is the fact that elephants actually migrate to that area to give birth. So that was quite an interesting story, and we got an interesting beat by a local community guy who gave us a feel of how that takes place. Let's just take a look at that report.
Our journey into the Kereita Forest started at the Kaberseed Forest Gate, an area that sits on top of an underground natural carbon dioxide reservoir. As we got further into the forest and descended into the first river valley, the clearings gave way to the indigenous forest.
Zaidi ya zile ambazo 60 zinajulikana, huu msitu wa Kereita ni mojawapo ya hizo important biodiversity areas, kwa sababu kuna ndege ambao ni mmoja ambaye anapatikana kwa huu msitu, anaitwa Abbott starling.
The most distinct being the valley, which is now an elephant maternity, as it is known for the elephants that travel many kilometers to come and give birth here.
Ikifikia mwezi wa June ama July, ambapo kuna baridi nyingi sana, wakisha give birth wanakaa hapa kama miezi 2-3, kisha wanarudi back to the northern Aberdares.
The 7-kilometer stretch finally takes us to the Kereita waterfall on Gatamaiyu River, dropping 60 feet to the stream below.
These hidden caves would offer a perfect hideout to the Mau Mau freedom fighters who would converge here to strategize during their quest for the country's independence. The waterfall adjacent to it would act as a perfect sound buffer against any attack.
Thank you. Apart from the beautiful landscapes and scenic views, There are also other adventure-based activities in the forest, such as zip lining. The forest has one of the longest zip lines in East Africa, stretching over more than 2 kilometers. Kereita is a forest of diverse nuggets of value.
Zeinab, so you went and found an empty maternity ward.
Yes, and it was amazing. I think, you know, the idea that the elephants actually came here to give birth, and this happens every June to August every year. So maybe you should make a point to go there.
June, August, we're coming for you.
Indeed. Well, up ahead, we take you inside one of Kenya's oldest churches.
Welcome back to NTV Weekend Edition. Now, the Watson Memorial Chapel in Thogoto in Kikuyu in the county of Kiambu is East Africa's oldest PCEA sanctuary and is even gazetted as a national monument. But the church, built in 1909 with heavy gauge iron sheets with a steeply raked roof, is in dire need of rehabilitation.
Well, NTV's Seth Olale spoke with 79-year-old Kennedy Njoroge, who has been worshipping at the chapel since the 1950s and relieves the church's rich history, which he wants the government to step in and help preserve.
The first missionary to arrive here was Mr. Thomas Watson, who arrived here in 1898. He had come from Scotland, and they had a short stay at Kibwezi. He was living in a house that is not very far from here. It is within the compound of the school, adjacent to this church. He was 23 years old. He was not an old fellow. So he was not even married. He thought of getting married before he starts serious, missionary work here. You can say he imported, this is what I can say, a girl from Scotland called Mine. In fact, one of the local persons here, Mr. Kinyanjui, was sent to Mombasa to go and escort the lady to this place. So he got married here in 1900. That's 2 years after he had come. And now, as a married person, he started serious mission work, trying to get in touch with the people in the locality. And unfortunately, he only lived with his wife for 2 years and died. I was told that he died from something like pneumonia or something like that. There are other missionaries who followed because the main church, Scottish church in Scotland, intended that somebody would be responsible for this place. And they didn't think Mine would be able to do it all by herself. I've heard about NCCK. Yes. That one was actually, the idea was mooted or conceived here in 1913, here. You came 3 years ago. This place was hollow because it had been vandalized, and all the glasses had been broken. So it was, over the years, it was, vandalized.
Thank you.
Asante sana.
On 9th December 2018, PCA Church commemorated 120 years of missionary work here in Thogoto. Apart from starting churches, the church has also established centers for higher learning institutions as well as hospitals. Seth Olale, NTV, Thogoto, Kiambu County.
Now that is one side of the Kiambu County story. The other stands in stark juxtaposition. Alcoholism grips some of the young and old with a possibly greater grip than they grab the bottles for those that drink from them.
Families have lost their loved ones in multiples in areas such as Makwa, Nigatondo South. Eunice Somolo followed the stories of loved ones who have been battling not to let their kin hang off the noose of drunkenness.
The tag team of the scorching sun rays and heat cut through the fading clouds of dust. It seemingly veils the stagger of a short, long journey, one which is often traveled by both the young and old in Gatundu North's Makua area. The day is barely gone and the temporary residency at the local pub has come to an end after a night of imbibing. The Kiambu County government came up with an initiative dubbed Cars Sober to curb and reduce cases of young people hooked to alcoholism.
Kazi yangu yenye sasa nafanya kazi ya kupigana mambo ya pombe ambayo sisi wenyewe tulianziza na wa governor Waitito. Tulikuja hapa kwa hii area ya Makwa juu. Kwanza mimi nikizaliwa na kujua hii area, nimejua Makwa ka area yenye ukitaka kusaidika lazima uuze pombe.
Some try to walk confidently, but the entrapment shows with every step. Consumption of illicit brew has rendered many young people here, especially the men, poor and without much to do. Joseph Kariuki and his wife Pauline Waithera know of the pain of living with not one but 5 unruly alcoholic young men.
Watano. Na kazi yao ni kunywa pombe tu. Na nikawaambia watulime, wanakataa. Wanakaa huko paka kilabu kifungwe kama saa 5:30 ya usiku. Wakija wanapiga nyumba ili tuwapatie chakula. Na sisi tunauliza, mnataka chakula na hamu kufanya kazi? Ile kijana wangu wa kwanza anaitwa Kadhorido alifariki kwa sababu ya pombe. Alikuwa akifanya kazi na akazoea kunywa pombe. Alikunywa pombe, akalewa sana, alikuwa anataka kwa barabara, alikutana na gari, akapigwa, akapondwa. Na hii mwingine wa pili naitwa Waweru. Naye alikunywa pombe sababu tulimwambia aase pombe ili tusaidiane kulima. Baada ya kumwambia hivyo, alitoka akasema ni hivyo. Akatoka nje, alafu asubuhi yake tukaona amejinyonga.
Hii area ya Makwa imewacha watu wengi wakiwa na machozi sana. Unapata kwa ukiingia kwa kila boma hapa Makwa, hakuna mahali huwezi pata kaburi ya mtu amekufa juu ya pombe.
Kazi ya pombe hapa kwetu iko juu sana. Hata watu wa kijiji wakisema, wakijaribu kuituliza, wanashindwa watafanya nini? Sababu watu wa serikali wakija, sijui kama ni kuongwa anahongwa au nini wanafanya, sababu hawashukui satu.
Mr. Kariuki's homestay is an example of families where young muscles have been drained and even dragged to the grave. The families are hopeful that one time, the distillation of the illicit brew will stop. Unisomolo, NTV, in Makwa, Gatundu North, Kiambu County.
Now let's move away from the alcohol and come to stuff that we actually encourage to take. That is food, and healthy food in that case. And some of what the Kikuyu traditional foods have been, some of the Kikuyu people eat. And we are joined by Dina Wangare. She says Wangare, not Wangare. Wangare, who is the hospitality manager at the institute. Maybe you can quickly just tell us what are these foods that we see here?
Thank you very much. The food that we have today, we have mataha, which is made of cowpeas, potatoes and beans and maize. Then we also have njahe or ilyosha njahe. Then we have potatoes. It's made through potatoes and njahe mashed together. That is what we have for today.
And what do you call this mataha?
Mataha.
What do you call it in English?
Mataha.
Well played.
And I can see there's also a githeri Kiambu Koyo here as well. Of course, we'll be having a sample of that later on. All right, but coming up ahead. Gor Mahia shines in continental action. The goals coming up later in the bulletin.
Welcome back. We went on break in Kiambu County and you're back with the international news in Nairobi. Senegal went to the polls today in an election that the incumbent President Macky Sall is tipped to win. His main challengers, former Dakar Mayor Halifa Sall and Karim Wade, that is the son of the previous president, were banned from running.
People queued in large numbers as the polling station opened at Fatick in the center of the country, where President Sall cast his ballot. Sall faces competition from 4 lesser-known rivals, among them former Prime Minister Idrissa Seck, Issa Sall of the Unity and Assembly Party, former Justice and Foreign Minister Madické Niang, and tax inspector turned MP Osman Sonko. President Muhammadu Buhari and his main challenger, businessman Atiku Abubakar, both expressed their confidence of victory as vote counting continues in Nigeria. Official results are expected early next week, even as reports of post-election violence have been reported. Sudanese protesters in Omdurman are calling for the president to resign. President Omar al-Bashir imposed a year-long emergency on Friday after a deadly crackdown failed to suppress weeks of protests against his 3-decade rule. He also dissolved the cabinet and provincial government and pledged to bring in technocrats to help end the economic crisis. Former governor of the agricultural state of Jazeera, Mohamed Tahir Ella, was sworn in as the new prime minister at a ceremony on Saturday. Pope Francis vowed to tackle every single case of sexual abuse by priests in the Roman Catholic Church, comparing pedophilia to human sacrifice. Speaking on the final day of a landmark Vatican summit on clerical abuse, the Pope referred to sexual abusers as tools of Satan. Pope Francis also warned victims to lower their expectations, saying that much of the work on tackling abuse would be done post-summit. Saudi Arabia has named a princess as its first woman ambassador to the United States. Princess Rima bint Bandar, new Saudi ambassador's appointment, comes as the fallout over journalist Jamal Khashoggi's murder test relations between the allies.
That international news roundup brought to us by Anita and Kirote. Time now for sports, and over to you, Ida Waringa. A very good evening to you. Time to play here on NTV. My name is Ida Orenga. Now, we do start things off on a very unfortunate note where former international athlete Nyantika Mayoro has died. Mayoro first represented Kenya in 1954 at the Commonwealth Games, finishing fourth in the 3 miles race. He later completed in the 1956 Olympics, 1958 Commonwealth Games, and the 1960 Olympics when he set an African record. The trailblazing Olympian was admitted at the Krista Marianne Hospital after he was diagnosed with tuberculosis 2 weeks ago. Condolences to his family, and may his soul rest in eternal peace. Let's move on. And 2 goals inside of 4 minutes for Gor Mahia made an otherwise frustrating afternoon worth it as they beat 10-man Hussein Dey 2-0 in their CAF Confederation Cup Group D match at the Moi International Sports Complex, Kasarani. Zamalek SC and Petro Atletico, the other 2 teams in the group, will be in action later on tonight to determine standings after the latest round of matches.
Game day at Kasarani and spirits were high amongst the Kogalo faithful. However, the fans would soon take on a cheerless tone after Gor Mahia endured missed chance after missed chance on the Hussein Dey half. The game looked to end on a goalless draw until things took a dramatic turn in the final 6 minutes when Gor's Francis Kahata scored a volley from close range in the 84th minute after Shafiq Batambuza's cross into the box was punched out by the Hussein Dey goalkeeper and rebounded to the diminutive Kogalo midfielder, who aptly finished it off. A red card would follow a minute later, Hussein Dey's Chamsidine Harag receiving a second yellow card for dissent. Gor Mahia then immediately exploited their numerical advantage when Jacques Tuisenge netted following a long ball, doubling the advantage for Kogalo. More drama as play was halted amidst high tension after the Algerian camp invaded the Gor Mahia bench, resulting in a scuffle that the Hussein Dey head coach would later regret. Gor Mahia currently topped the group with 6 points from 3 games, and Algeria's Hussein Dey following in second, having accrued 4 points from a similar number of matches played.
This group is going to go up to last game. It's early. It's very early. Okay, we got advantage. Home, we're playing very strong. And we got 6 points. Now we got 2 away games. And if we nick 1 point or 2 points from away games, here, I think last game we go through.
Zamalek will host Angola's Petro Atletico in Egypt.
Fantastic effort indeed by Gor Mahia. Amazing being at the stadium earlier on. Let's move on to the Kenyan Premier League, where Mount Kenya United climbed 2 places to 16th in the KPL after seeing off Zoo FC 1-0 in a match played at the Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos. Joseph Wanyonyi scored the lone goal of the match that takes them to 3rd from bottom of the table with 12 points, tied on similar points with Zoo FC, who lie on 15th. In other matches of the day, Sony Sugar thrashed Western Steamer 4-0 to maintain their hopes of a top 8 finish this season. Musotsi Wesonga, Derek Utanga and Robert Mudenyu scored the goals to take the Sugar Millers to 22 points from 15 matches, just 1 point above Steamer, who have played a match less. Elsewhere, Kariobangi Sharks drew 1-1 with Vihiga United at the Buhungu Stadium. Sharks dropped to 7th on 22 points, with Vihiga dropping to 17th on 11. AFC Leopards drop to the bottom place. Well, the Kenya Under-15 national team came from 2 goals down to hold a Central Rift combined Under-17 side 2-2 in a friendly match played at the Afraha Stadium in Nakuru. The hosts were very quick off the mark, racing into a 2-0 lead inside the first 20 minutes. Harrell, however, halved the deficit for a 2-1 halftime score before Hamis Anyale restored parity in the second half, the match ending 2-2. The friendly was the 5th for the Junior Stars this year, which is a build-up to the MIC football tournament in Spain in April. The Junior Stars will play alongside Real Madrid, FC Barcelona, Ajax, Manchester United and Manchester City in the Under-16s category.
Let's cross borders now, and Liverpool returned to the top of the English Premier League but were left frustrated by their failure to break down a stubborn Manchester United side that was ravaged by injuries. Jurgen Klopp's side moved 1 point clear and climbed above Manchester City into pole position. Round of 2 under par 69 at the current Country Club leg of the Safari Tour Golf Series to take the lead after round 1 of the tournament. The recently crowned Safari Tour overall winner picked up a bogey on the par 4 third before recovering with back-to-back birdies on the par 4 fifth and the par 5 sixth for a turning score of 34, having held par on the other 5 holes. Great Rift's Justice Madoya and amateur Daniel Nduva tied for second place. The trio of David Opati, Simon Ngige and Anil Shah tied in third. Meanwhile, Golf Park's Joseph Karanja led his team to victory at the Pro-Am event of the current Country Club leg of the Safari Tour Golf Series. Well, it indeed has been an action-packed Sunday full of sport. But let's play again tomorrow. Wishing you a good evening ahead. My name is Ida Warenga. It's back to you, Olive, and I'm interested to know, Olive, which team do you support locally, if any?
Huh? I support the national team. You caught me a bit off guard with that one, Ida. I support the national team.
No worries.
All right. Now, I'm handing you back to Dann, Mwangi, and Zeinab, Ismail. But before I do that, I want to know, are you guys bringing me back some mataha, or is it mataha?
Well, you want mataha, we will taha some for you. In Kikuyu, taha means kuchota.
Even more githeri. We're going to bring you even githeri and waru.
All right, that's some good news. And I didn't see any of that machakura you were talking about, Dan. That is delicious food I saw.
Have no fear. Kiambu County is just over here. I even rhymed for you.
All right,
indeed.
Over to you guys.
All right.
are the students from the Amboseli Institute of Hospitality and Technology, of course, just giving us a glimpse of the Kikuyu culture, a song that they were singing. It is usually sang during a wedding ceremony, perhaps?
Yes, it is.
Right,
and this is the bride. This is a Kikuyu bride. Those are the sound men. Then this is the groom. This is the Kikuyu groom with feathers on his back.
I think they look quite amazing. And you have this. Do you know what this is called?
I want these guys to tell me. It's a test for their wedding, eh? Beads. Wedding beads. They're called wedding beads. And we'd just like to thank you all for having been great hosts to us. Would like to invite the founder and director of this institution to just say thank you very much for having us. And what should people expect from you in 10 seconds?
Thank you very much, NTV. Thank you very much, Amboseli Institute. I want to say thank you to everybody who has taken part in this. I just want to remind any person who is out there that our intakes are normally in January, March, April, July and October. Any of those times you can join us and you're most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
so
Jennifer Kago Kome.
Indeed. Well, you know, Dan, I'm going to leave you here. I have quite a lot of cooking to be done, yeah? I have a nyogoya wagekoyo. So I'm going to cook some mbosho here.
Okay.
For our dinner. And of course, this is where the Tongore edition comes to a close up, perhaps?
It does. And as you go and cook, probably someone can provide you with a jerry can of water. But as she goes to do her cooking, we can continue dancing in the Kikuyu tradition. Twende!